HTCs are getting smaller, and Lumias are getting larger. That news, plus a boatload of upcoming announcements in the hour ahead, and one of us is podcasting from a battery-powered mobile device and can't stay connected very long. So let's get right down to it. This is episode 053 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week podcast from Pocketnow where we discuss smartphones, tablets, and the state of mobile technology in 2013. I'm your host, Michael Fisher, editorial director at Pocketnow, and today I'm joined by Multimedia Manager shirtless Jaime Rivera. Good morning there in hot, powerless Honduras.
Good morning, and let's just leave it there before I jinx it again.
Yeah, it's a good idea. And by senior editor Taylor Newdiggs Martin. Good morning to you in your new office.
You got a new office, new apartment, new pretty much everything.
New everything, and you're down the road from a P.F. Chang's. But I don't.
Oh man, right? All you need is a new girlfriend now.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't want to talk too much about Taylor's awesome positioning in the world when Jaime is stuck, literally podcasting with no shirt on, from an iPhone tethered to a laptop with no power. Did I get all that right, Jaime?
Yeah, you got all that right. All right, whatever.
Jeez,
fanning himself with a folder.
I want to know about this. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I am, the literal way to say it is I'm blowing myself with a folder.
No, that is not the literal way to say it. Fanning. Taylor had it right. Fanning.
Okay, pardon my lack of perfect English.
No, your lack of perfect English is rare but hilarious. I want to hear something. I need an international education. Because I was not aware until, I don't know, a couple months ago that power outages are something of a regular occurrence in Honduras.
It is. It actually got better years ago with the previous government. But the problem is here, most companies like the phone company and the power company, these are all government companies, and they are on purpose. These are what keeps the government from going broke.
Right.
And so it's funny because my light bill, for example, is more expensive than my brother's light bill in Washington, D.C. Can you believe that? Close to
$300
of a light bill, and then I get power outages almost every week.
Wow.
Yeah,
well,
it's crazy.
We thought that Jaime was not going to be able to join us this morning, and but he definitely came to the rescue of the Pocketnow Weekly with a laptop, with an iPhone.
No, I'm using the built-in ones in the iPhone's headset. How does that sound?
Yeah. No, I mean, you sound good. It's great. I feel like we always have that surprise, like whether Joe is podcasting with his headphones or Steven is podcasting with whatever he uses. Like everyone sounds really good. So anyway, let's
Brandon podcast with a potato.
Yeah, well, with the exception of Brandon. What does Brandon use?
I have no idea.
He's got
he's got a snowball. He's got a snowball just like I do.
Does he really?
Yeah.
He must have more right angles in that office than anywhere. Anyway,
I've got a lot in this one and a lot of echo. So
no, you're doing fine. Let's get into it though, because we're all time constrained and we're starting a little later than usual today. We have a couple announcements to get out of the way. The first one is not an official one, or it will be tomorrow, but Pocketnow Weekly listeners, you get a little early insight into this. Hey, you know all those times when we talk about Instagram on the podcast? Well, regardless of what your feelings on Instagram are, you should know that Pocketnow now has its own official Instagram account at instagram.com/Pocketnow. Pocketnow now. And Taylor Martin, having returned to Instagram for a little bit, is providing some excitement to my day because he's just kind of posting all the time. And Jaime posts all the time anyway. Like, I'm used to Jaime being on Instagram now, but I feel like we three are the best ones to be on the show right now for the Instagram announcement because we're kind of the only ones who use it regularly, right, on the team?
Actually, yeah. Brandon only opened the account, and all he's got is one photo, I think.
What on his personal account?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I even follow Brandon. I didn't even bother because I know he doesn't use it. But the Pocketnow account will be officially announced tomorrow. It's not a big deal. Like, we're not going to do too much special with it, but we're just going to be posting a lot of photos from behind the scenes, photos of review devices, photos from review devices, and me making stupid faces while I'm shooting review devices. So, what are you guys gonna shoot with it? Yeah. What are you gonna do? I haven't even talked to you about this. You guys gonna use it for fun times?
Why not?
Americanos.
What?
My Americanos, maybe a salad or two.
What is that, a pastry?
Oh, Americano? It's espresso and water.
Piece of pasta? Oh, okay, all right.
I just love how you people in the United States say Americano. Why don't you just say American, man?
Yeah, like I don't know, like asking for an American, like can I have an American in a cup? It's just kind of weird, right?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Now, I heard some backstory on the Americano. I don't know how true it is, but I did hear a story saying that, during World War II, we were in France and we wanted coffee, and they only had espresso, and it was too strong, so they put water in it and called it an Americano. So I don't know how true that is.
So the translation of that is that an American coffee is a watered down version of what could be awesome, right?
Basically, yes.
Yeah. You guys would hate Dunkin' Donuts. I want to let you guys know, Jaime, what are you going to be? You're not going to be taking running shoe photos on Instagram. Surely you will be doing something else.
Well, at least not for the Pocketnow account. I mean, if you want to see a lot of boring running photos of me, then follow me on Instagram.
I don't think any of those are boring. I think your spinning ones are getting a little static, but the running shoes ones are good.
So somebody
spinning?
Was like,
"What am I missing here?"
He was like, "Why are you always static when you're taking photos of yourself spinning?" And I'm like, "Well, I have to stop to be able to take the photo. That's just the way it is." But yeah, why not a couple of bloopers on Pocketnow Daily? See how that looks.
Oh, that would be really cool. Yes, because we can do video on Instagram now too. So anyway, it's going to be fun. That is the unofficial announcement. Follow us Instagram.com/Pocketnow. Also, we've got us a forum. I don't know if you missed the video, but Pocketnow has its own little BBS now, returning to our roots after, 13 years. It is at forums.pocketnow.com, and when we launched it, I was petrified because this was sort of it wasn't my original idea, I guess, but I was really advocating heavily for it. And Jaime, I think you had tried to pitch it earlier, and it didn't really land, right? Like,
well,
you wanted them back all the time?
I actually landed in Pocketnow through the forums that we used to have before with vBulletin. I had bricked a Pocket PC that I had back then, and that's how I learned about Pocketnow. And so, let's just say that I was in charge of the forums for a while years ago, and then I was in charge of the redesign of the forums back then. And then one day led to another. Brandon comes up to me, he's like, "I'm killing the forums," and I'm like, "No, you're not." He's like, "Yeah, I am." And we went back and forth for weeks on discussions of why I didn't want him to kill the forums. He ended up killing them anyways.
Well, I guess it's good that we had some time apart from them, because we were able to start afresh with the new thing. And there's a lot we have a list like a mile long of changes we want to implement, and the UI needs to be changed, and a lot of stuff needs to be fixed and improved. But what's nice is the community we've attracted has been really, really cool so far. And I know we're still in the honeymoon phase, and the trolls are going to come out of the woodwork and whatever. But there are some great conversations happening over there. And considering I was petrified that no one was going to show up, like it was going to be one of those things where you throw a house party and nobody comes, I'm really glad that didn't happen.
That happens to me every time.
Oh, I'll come to your house party. I'll come to your office party. Throw an office warming party. Anyway, visit us at the forums, please. We're having awesome discussions over there, including a thread, which I think is my personal favorite, entitled "Jaime Rivera is a Jerk Face." Which I posted, and it took like 4 days for Jaime to actually visit the forums to find it. And I was like, "Oh, good, you're here. Finally. Thank you."
I can't find that again. I know it's in there somewhere. Is it off topic?
I don't know. Maybe Stephen Schenk finally became a moderator and deleted it. Anyway, we're due to get into some news here. So thank you for letting us get the announcements out of the way at the top of the show. Co-hosts and listeners, thank you for your patience. You guys, why don't we talk a little bit about Windows Phone, shall we? We had a podcast right before the Lumia announcement last week. It was the only time we could do it. And then we had a live hangout during the official announcement. But one thing led to another, et cetera, et cetera. The Lumia 1020 is official. Yay! And I think we had about, 9 or 10 editorials that day talking about the Lumia 1020?
Yeah, I don't know how I even worked that day, because I did a podcast in the morning, a hangout during, and then I wrote like 3 editorials that night.
Yeah. It was.
I don't even know what happened.
Yeah, but it was a good day. I'm really excited about this phone, and this is really big coming from me.
It is indeed. Yes. Now, I am curious as to what excites you about it, Jaime. Share that with us. I know it's the camera, but, in a broader sense.
Okay, so for me, I'll give you an example. Ever since the Lumia 1020 was announced, I'm using the Windows Phone 8X again. I'm using a Windows Phone again. Yeah. I have nothing against Windows Phone. I had struggled to find something of Windows Phone that made me want it more than any other phone. Mm-hmm. And I think this is it. I mean, I love candid photography. I do. It doesn't matter what I take photos of, whether it's my shoe after I run or whatever, but I've always wanted. It's funny because I even carry the Galaxy camera in my glove compartment because I always want to have something to take a cool photo from. And for me, this is like the solution. It's like, all right, you're going to have a lossless zoom, really cool camera with you. And it's going to have a UI that, even though it's still not as mature as I would like for it to be, I mean, I started using that Instance application that you recommended for Instagram.
Yeah, the Instagram stand-in. Yeah.
Man, that is like the best third-party application I've ever seen in my life.
That's why I wrote that editorial with basically that headline. It's like,
oh, you did. Yeah. It's the best third-party implementation. You did. That's right.
Yeah.
So I guess a lot of my Windows Phone problems are solved right now. First of all, I have Spotify now. I have an alternative for Instagram. So I guess I started using the 8X recently, and I haven't felt the need to go back. I'm actually enjoying my experience now, and all I need now is the camera.
Isn't that great? Yeah, I love that. It's so kind of what is the word? I mean, satisfying is an insufficient descriptor, but it's so nice to be on a platform that for so long has gone without the necessary apps. From my perspective, like you just said, Spotify was absent for a long time. An Instagram client was absent for a long time. A YouTube app was absent for a while, and it's like to have them appear one by one. It's funny. It's like a kind of a gradual stream of presents to unwrap. And then all of a sudden, when one day you wake up and you're like, wow, I don't really need to put down my Windows Phone and pick up an Android device to go through my day. And that's really cool. And I agree, it's only going to get more compelling once this camera drops. But can we talk about the price really quickly, guys?
Well, I was just going to say that I wrote an editorial this morning that's talking about the UI and everything, and why I haven't really been able to use Windows Phone for so long. And now that basically what Jaime was saying, the camera is one thing that's pulling me over, but also the application support is growing. And
what was the name of your piece this morning? It was
does Windows Phone need a refreshed UI?
I'm sorry, that was supposed to be in the rundown. I'm sorry to skip over you there.
Oh well, it's already in there now.
Yeah. Yes, so that's
self-inserted.
That's an awesome question because it's an awesome headline, and I know it's going to get the comments are going to be a flame war. But that's a really good question because we haven't, besides smaller tiles, we really haven't seen a revamp of the UI since 7 launched almost. As we're seeing.
Yeah, and that's coming up on 3 years.
Right.
And people are giving iOS hell for not updating.
Yeah. No. But with Windows, I think the counter argument is. Because Windows Phone is a niche platform, or it was, and now it's picking up steam, because it's a much smaller platform, it's kind of eternally fresh because nobody knows about it, right? I mean, that's the argument that I was using to kind of be like, well, I guess they have bigger fish to fry than revamping the UI because it's still going to be new to millions of people, right?
Yeah, well, that's fair if you liked it from day one, but I've kind of felt a little bored by it.
I understand.
Now I will say that the change, getting rid of the arrow, the pointing arrow that kind of took up a whole row or column, I guess. Mm-hmm. Getting rid of that was a good idea, but I think that there's more that could be done with even the tiles that are there. Maybe put the arrow back, but don't have it take up an entire column, but have a grid that's not 4 by however many tall. Have a grid that's square and you can pan left and right and up and down and in 2 dimensions. And I mean, there are just so many different things that could happen.
I feel like there's kind of never-ending potential for it. I mean, they could kind of do anything they want with it.
Yeah. So I was pretty tame in the article, and I didn't really call it out. I mean, I started the article with, I like Windows Phone. No, really, I do.
Right.
Because every time I write an article, people are like, oh, you're a hater.
Well,
you're stupid.
That's the culture.
No, wait a second. That's my title.
Right.
That's my title. Come on.
Don't you go stealing Jaime's hater crown.
Come on.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, that's the culture which we've talked about before of this particular ecosystem.
People say that about me when I write about iOS as well.
Yeah,
and I don't hate iOS. I don't hate Windows
No,
Phone.
but you're going to call out areas that you see require improvement. And that actually, you make a good point in that piece as well, because the 1020 announcement showed us Nokia did not focus on the platform at all. I mean, I don't think Stephen Elop said the words Windows Phone 8 once in his entire presentation.
Didn't.
Yeah.
Zero. Not once.
And
not
because
once.
there's not much to announce, right? Because we're all waiting on the next update and the next series of updates, really. So, yeah, no, I do want to keep this narrow, though, because I don't want to broaden it up too much because we want to keep the feed going here. But the price. I mean, $299 on contract. Forget the unlocked pricing for a second. Stephen Shank wrote a cool piece this morning where he titled it, Lumia 1020 pricing is either genius or self-delusion. And he talks about... Is it genius? Because this is the thing. His argument goes this. For years, the gold standard in high-end flagship smartphone pricing has been $199. And yeah, you can go higher than that if you give added storage, but $199 is pretty much the sweet spot. And now we're seeing it for $299, the Lumia 1020, $299 on contract with AT&T exclusively. I mean, that's concerning to me, because I'm going to have to buy this thing, and I'm buying it for full price, I think. I think I'm spending $650.
Okay, I'll give you a reason. Okay, so...
for somebody who's walking into the store, $299 for this? Well, obviously the pitch is the camera, but is it enough? Go ahead, Jaime.
Well, the thing is, it's not just any camera. They're not just selling you anything. I mean, they're selling you something that is going to take each of its competitors years to figure out. And I feel, for example, I'll give you an example. Windows Phone has retailed for the past 3 years as the underdog cheap phone. And I never did like that. I think it's a customer perspective. I mean, when the first generation iPhone was launched, it cost $500 after a 2-year contract, and it sold like hotcakes. People get this perception that if something is too inexpensive, it's cheap. And I do understand the mentality of Microsoft and of all the partners in trying to keep Windows Phone affordable to be able to grasp more customers. But I wrote an editorial probably like a year or two ago about the fact that people are considering Windows Phone cheap. And I feel that there is no compelling reason to price Windows Phone any less than any flagship Android phone, and they are.
Yeah.
And it's a perception issue. It's a perception issue.
What about, let's talk about that, because the only flagship Androids that are sitting at that price point on a contract, I mean, are like the Galaxy Note, and that was a long time ago. That's not even today's
it's not
price.
even there. There's nothing on AT&T right now that's $299.
No.
Except for the 32 gig.
The
64
iPhone
gig
5
one.
32 gig is $299.
Right, and that's the thing. It's a capacity thing. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so they're giving me 32 gigs on that Lumia 1020. Why not?
Yeah, same thing. I don't think you can draw a direct comparison there, because it's like you don't have an option, right? You have to get the 32 gig of the 1020. You don't have to get a 32 gig iPhone. You can go cheaper if you want to. With the 1020, it's like $300 or nothing.
Yes, but here's the problem. I mean, how can you really consider a Lumia 1020 with 16 gigs usable?
Absolutely not. No, I agree. There's a good reason for that 32 to be there. All I'm saying is, if you're going to launch at that price point, you've got to be willing to accept the fact that the salespeople have to carry a higher burden. They have to be able to really overcome objections when selling this thing. And the carrier has to, we're seeing moves that we're going to talk about in a second of carriers changing their phone pricing policy, so maybe that'll factor into it, but it's still a $300 phone on a contract. And I feel like the last time we were at this point was years ago, where a smartphone could justifiably be priced very, very high on a contract. And forget about the iPhone for a second. I'm thinking of like old Windows Mobile days. You remember when those things used to be priced about $550 on a contract?
I know. I remember those days. But listen, Michael. For me, $100 in this country is a lot. It's a lot of money. I mean, I would have to go to the most expensive restaurant in the city and take three people with me to be able to have a restaurant bill that tops $100. And then you're living in a country where $100 is what you spend in dinner. With the date.
Every day. Whenever I go to Burger King, it's always $100. Yeah.
No, obviously not. Obviously
trip to PF Chang's, boom, done. $100.
Obviously not. But I don't know. I guess for me, $100.
Making a good point. Yeah.
For me, $100 is not a big deal when I'm getting something that no other phone can give me.
Absolutely, and there's no question that that's what you're getting with this.
Yeah. I have 3 points to make. One, the Lumia 520 lends credence to exactly what Jaime was saying about Windows Phone having this stigma about being cheap, because that is one of the low-end models, and it's, if I'm not mistaken, one of the most popular Windows phones ever.
The Lumia 520 is that's the one that's like 150 off contract, right?
Yeah, but it shows that Windows Phone, at least, if nothing else, if it can't compete on a large scale with high-end devices, it will appeal to smaller markets and people looking for cheaper phones. But the price behind the 1020, I have a problem with it because on contract it's $299. Off contract, it's priced relatively comparable to all the other flagships. It's $659 off contract, which means that you're signing a 2-year agreement for just a little over or just a little under half off. So you're getting like a 45% cut on the price of the phone for a 2-year contract, but you're still paying. We'll circle back to this later if I'm looking through the rundown correctly, but you're still paying for that hardware in the contract, and you're paying just as much as someone who gets a bigger discount on a phone for the same term. For instance, the Galaxy S4, it's $200 on contract. Off contract, it's around the same price. I think it's $640. It's probably $640
$649 or something. Yeah,
I think it's $639.99. Wrote about it the other day, but you're getting a much bigger discount, 60% off or something around there. I'm doing really quick rough math, but for the same term, and you're not getting as much off. So it's a worse deal if you think about it mathematically, financially. It's a terrible deal, but in the same respect, you're getting much more out of it because, one, you don't have to go buy another point-and-shoot camera. Just use your phone because it's that good.
The difference, the discounted price difference is $80. So the Galaxy S4, you're getting $440 off. The Lumia 1020, you're getting $360 off. So that's the difference there.
Yeah, so that's a pretty significant difference when you're talking same term. You're paying the same amount back on your contract in your rate plan, and it's just kind of crappy. I mean, that's the best way to put it. You're not, like, basically what it amounts to is the carriers are going to make a lot, or AT&T is going to make a lot more money off the Lumia 1020 than they will on the Galaxy S4. And maybe, just maybe, that'll give sales representatives an incentive to actually sell Windows Phone.
Yeah, that's the real question that I've
got.
That
is a very good point.
Yeah, it's a good point on the books, but I remember there being, like, the relationship between sales reps at the retail level and the corporate office and the actual overall direction of the company was so disassociated when I worked for 2 American carriers. And I don't know, I haven't seen any evidence that disconnection has been repaired in any of my excursions to modern mobile retail stores. So,
none of that matters if they're working commission. Do AT&T sales reps work commission?
Yeah, they do.
Then if they're going to make more money, on a Lumia 1020 and it's the right fit for a customer,
that's the point though. Like, I have seldom seen a corporation that actually does this, where it's like, oh wow, this device needs to be pushed really hard, let's incentivize the sales reps. Yes, it's logical. Yes, it makes a lot of sense. I don't see it happen very often.
Because Best Buy Mobile did.
Well, yeah.
I don't know if I can talk about that, but they definitely did.
Right.
We were actually
what are they
going to
do? Fire you?
Yeah. Well, we didn't work commission either, but we were told to sell Android phones as upgrades. New lines, we were told to sell iPhones as much as we could, and upgrades were non-iPhones because you don't make much on people upgrading to an iPhone, but a new line you make more. So it's kind of
I think
we were told, and we did. We had quotas, and we would hit them.
Regardless and in the case of the iPhone, sorry to interrupt you. In the case of the iPhone, there is, the reason why the iPhone loses its price like so dramatically, like a month before the new iPhone gets launched, is because carriers sign contracts for specific amounts of iPhones to sell. So if they don't get rid of that stock, they're going to have to pay a penalty to Apple. So it's convenient for carriers to sell that phone like hotcakes. And I don't know how Apple was able to pull that negotiation off, but it worked for them like wonders.
Yeah. But, regardless of the details of how they actually execute it, they have to incentivize the salespeople to move this thing, because otherwise it's just going to be the 900 all over again, the 920 all over again. I wrote a piece about the carrier exclusivity sucking because of what we've talked about on the podcast over and over again about the Easter Sunday ball drop and the fact that the phones weren't being pushed in the retail stores, even though they had premium positioning. I don't know, but I think the 1020 probably stands the best chance of actually developing a following among salespeople, because it really is a spec monster, like you said in your piece, Jaime, about Nokia having finally nailed it. Yeah. I mean, because you tell anyone 41 megapixels on a camera, and their jaw will drop unless they are the biggest Luddite ever. And all other arguments aside, like, even though you're using that shtick, even though you're putting aside the facts and the technical stuff and the pixel doubling and all that kind of stuff, and just tell somebody, it's got a 41 megapixel camera. What? Like, that is an instant attention getter, and that's what's going to help move this thing.
My mom, she was like, no way. And I told my photographer friend, the one who took the pictures of me for the Pocketnow Insider.
Yeah.
I told her about it. I told her about the 41 megapixel phone. And she's like, I hate smartphones. And I said, why? And she said, because, one, it makes my job more difficult because people want to just use their own cameras instead of hiring someone. And two, I have a $3,000 camera and $5,000 worth of lenses. And people are getting very comparable image quality out of a phone.
Right.
It's not the same. You don't get all the effects that you can get from a lens or all the settings toggles that you can tweak on a DSLR. But she said it doesn't matter because people don't see the difference, and it really just kind of
her work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did I. I devalued her work with Photoshop Touch.
Well, but here's the thing. So that's not to like dog your friend, because she takes wonderful photos. But I don't understand that attitude. I actually kind of do. When I was still planning long term on a different career path, I was getting really pissed at reality TV. Because it was really, really robbing a lot of opportunities for actors, because there just wasn't fictitious programming being made anymore. It was all reality crap. And I was fighting the trend, and that's a difficult thing to do, and that's exactly what's happening in photography. Now, I completely agree with her, Taylor. I think that you can get amazing, amazing results with expensive equipment and with the craft of photography. I'm not in any way saying that you can reproduce it on a smartphone, but I think she hit the nail on the head. Most people can't tell.
Yeah.
Most people don't have an eye for composition or balance or anything like that.
And it depends. It depends on each specific scenario. Like, for example, in my case, I have a T3i. I have the Sony
5N.
With the
NEX
5N. The NEX 5N. These are all great cameras, but I can't take these cameras to downtown here.
I'm not going to take them with me everywhere I go.
No, and even if I wanted to, they fit in my glove. The NEX fits in my glove compartment, and man, I'm just looking for an opportunity to get mugged here.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. You're going to get robbed for your camera.
I'm serious. So for me, I guess that's like probably one of the biggest reasons why I love the iPhone, because I mean, it's not even noticeable in my pocket. And I could just take it out whenever I feel the need, and I just use it. And the Lumia 1020 is probably not as thin or anything, but I would rather deal with the compromise. I mean, this is the person that people have considered to be a non-Windows Phone guy. Fine, I'll take your criticism. But to be honest with you, I feel that the price point is perfect. I studied business in college, and I do understand what they're doing, and I do applaud what they're doing, because I have always felt that the price points for Windows phones have been all wrong. I seriously have.
2 points, Jaime. One, what have you not studied in college? And two, you're going to have to get bigger pants to compensate for that camera hump.
Yeah.
I use a holster. I use a holster.
Oh, God.
Do you really?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's not very inconspicuous.
No, it's not. You're going to get the yellow one?
No. The white one, which is even worse. I don't know. I feel, bottom line is, I feel that especially the unlocked price, it's the same price of a 16 gig iPhone unlocked. I mean, for me, it's like, now that is a compelling argument right there. I'm like, okay, iPhone 5S or Lumia 1020. This is the first time that I've ever been sitting on a discussion where I'm like, oh, wow, which one am I going to pick?
Right.
I know which one I'm picking.
I have to tell you guys that I am, for the second year in a row, going to be in line at the AT&T store to buy a Lumia, or maybe the Microsoft store, I don't know. Motorcycles are awesome, aren't they?
I love them.
Well, you've got motorcycles, I've got chihuahuas. Take your pick.
I have air conditioning.
For the second year in a row, I'm going to be lined up at the AT&T store to buy a phone, and the color, I'm not going to be 100% on the color. I'm getting the yellow one because I don't want the black or the white one because I'm bored with both those colors. But man, I am so annoyed that cyan is not going to be out at launch, and I'm sure it's going to be out 2 months after. And I'm going to be having this yellow phone that I sort of like, but don't really like because it's yellow instead of blue.
You know, I kind of like that yellow color, and I think it has to do with the way they're promoting it. I just like the phone in yellow for some reason.
Everything looks better in matte black, but if the red one comes out...
I can't think of anything more boring than a matte black phone, but go ahead.
I'm sorry, it just looks great.
Well, the exterior of the phone was not made to entertain you, man. Come on.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. If I'm dropping $299 on contract and $649 without, I'm going to be entertained, damn it. Which is why I'm getting a yellow phone.
Now, that said, if the red one comes out, I really, really, really want the red.
I can't handle warm colors in my technology. I really, really can't stand it. Blue,
yellow is warm.
Green. I know yellow is warm. I already told you I don't like yellow. I'm just getting it because it's better than the other two.
Taylor, how old are you, man? You're not even going through your midlife crisis. Why do you want a red phone? Come on.
Yeah,
your red orange car.
I was going to say your red phone is going to clash with your orange car. You got to get a yellow phone for your orange car, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Shall we move on to another Lumia device, or do we have any parting thoughts on the 1020 before next week?
If you're going to make us talk about the Lumia 625, let's just continue talking about the 1020.
I don't want to talk about the 625 for too long. I just want to mention it. Go ahead.
We skipped over an article. What are we?
We did.
Ignoring that?
We were. You know, do you want to make a point on that? Because Taylor Martin wrote a piece called, with a headline that doesn't quite match the tone of the piece, and that sounds like a dig against you, Taylor, and it's not, because the tone of the piece is much more hopeful, but the headline is Lumia 1020 won't save Nokia or Windows Phone. And
FUD.
Yeah, right, the FUD master. So I don't know what to think about that. I was trying to sneakily get past it so that we could maybe move the conversation forward, but let's take a minute and talk.
I don't think it's going to be a super successful device. Now, granted, I think it'll be a great device. I think it might sell pretty well, but it's not really going to do much initially for Windows Phone. And I only say that because, one, the price point. There are going to be a lot of people in the U.S. who are turned away by that $399 or $299 price point. Yes, it gives the illusion of a really high-quality phone, but no, it's not going to sell like hotcakes, where a Galaxy S4 at $200 will, or an HTC One at $199 will. You've got phones that are, in a sense, better if you don't consider the image sensing. They have better specifications and all these things that sales representatives will ultimately compare, and people are like, oh, this must be better because it's got 4 cores instead of 2. And
yeah.
You get this. Basically, this comes down to sales representatives and how they're going to push the phone. And nothing is going to change the way they push the phone, except for, one, if they are compensated, if they have an incentive to sell it, and two, getting past the stigma that better specifications or more cores, higher clock speed, more megapixels, all these things make the phone better. It's not just that, it's a whole package. And the Lumia 1020, at least we haven't reviewed it yet, obviously, but the whole package seems to be there.
So this is something that's been mentioned on Twitter a whole lot by a couple of people I follow and respect. And the point has been made that maybe the 1020 is really just an 808 camera bolted onto a 920. Because if you look at the thing from the front, it looks like a 920.
It is.
You're right.
It is.
Yeah. And because we're still waiting on advancements from the platform itself, we actually don't have the full story yet. We don't know what the advertising is going to be like.
Which is what I wrote yesterday.
Right. And I imagine the pitch is going to be pretty intense from the carrier and from Microsoft and from Nokia. We don't know what the new software is going to look like when the various updates drop. So we're kind of judging a phone that's even further from being complete than we usually do. I don't know when people buy this thing on launch day, it's going to be incomplete, and it's going to come into its own as the software gets updated. I'm sorry, Jaime, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know what's concerning for me is I still remember when Steve Jobs was announcing the first iPhone. He's like, "What happens if we get this new genius idea down the road? We can't just pull these phones back and add a button to them. They're already shipped." So I think that he makes a very compelling point about the fact that, yes, Taylor, you do have it's a very, very similar point to the one I make in the other editorial that I write. I feel that the problem here is not Nokia anymore. I mean, I think that Nokia is like really calling Microsoft's bluff right now. It's like, okay, you said that this was going to be the hottest platform, and it's logical. I mean, think about it. Windows 8 is like the best-selling platform out there. Love it or hate it, but it is. So isn't it the smart thing that people will want the phone that looks like their computer? And still, the bet hasn't really paid off. Now we have a problem. Now we have a problem where I feel that this phone is oriented more towards men. In my particular case, and I'm like, yeah, I do care about a phone that says that it has 4 cores, even if I don't need them. I don't really care about your excuses as to why that is. I want you to get me the damn 4 cores, and I want them now. That's my perspective. I guess, I don't know. I feel you do have a solid point. It's not going to save the platform. It's not going to save the company. But I think, as I said, as we talked in the Hangout when this phone was launched, this is really good. This phone is really going to show Windows Phone's true colors. It's like this is really calling Microsoft to either push or Nokia to either ship out. It's either one of these things. Now, I do feel that the phone will sell. And this is funny, but you remember when the Surface was launched, I was like, it's not going to sell, and it didn't sell. There have been so many cases where I'm like, I don't know if it's the marketing buzz. I don't know if it's the product itself. I don't know if it's the offering and the timing within the market. But there's this thing where I'm like, that thing is not going to sell. And, 80% of the time, that's what happens. It doesn't sell. And so in this particular case, the Lumia 1020 may not be the best seller. It may not be the best seller, but I do feel that it's going to change a lot of perspective towards Windows Phone. And I feel that it's really the seed that the platform needs. And by the way, let me take that back. Not the platform, the company. Yeah. It's planting the seed for Nokia.
Now, Nokia has come a long way. One, they announced a phone with a price point and a date. Mm-hmm. That is something that no one else can do.
Very, very awesome.
Yes.
Apple does it, and Samsung can't do it. HTC can't do it. Nobody seems to be able to do that except Google, maybe. They've done it with a few Nexus devices. But yes, they announced a phone, gave a price and a date, and said, here it is, and it's ready. In the same respect, it feels rushed. And that's kind of the same problem that I had with the Lumia 900, the 920, and it's what Michael just said. They're not completely finished when they come out. And that's probably the biggest problem.
I don't know. I don't think that was necessarily the case with the 920. I think the 920 was pretty. I mean, we had to wait forever for Microsoft to get a version of Windows 8 that was ready for it, or Windows Phone 8 that was ready for it. But I think the 920 was pretty finished when it came out from a hardware perspective. I mean, aside from that camera lens problem on the front. But
the 900 definitely wasn't.
Well, the 900 was a POS. No, I really hated my 900 when I had it for a couple of weeks. But here's the thing. The 1020, I've been trying to think of an analogy to do this, and for all the disadvantages we're seeing, and for all that is yet to be determined in the way of advertising and sales performance and all that stuff, the 1020 is the first phone in a really long time, I think, that I can remember, that recalls the era of phones still being a novelty. Yeah. I remember the days of dumb phones when camera phones themselves were new, like the first camera phones, right? And it was like a year or two out, and I had a camera phone, and this was, they were new, but a lot of people had them. But I had the Samsung A600 on Sprint, and it had like a reversing screen and a rotating camera. Like, it was ridiculous.
That was cool.
It was. I loved it, and it was priced. I think actually, it's funny. I think it was priced about $299.99 on contract, which is hilarious. And it was like a 0.3 megapixel camera and whatever. But here's the thing. I enjoyed telling people about it, and people enjoyed hearing about it. Now, this phone was ugly. It was like it had a bolt through its neck. It looked like a Frankenstein phone, And it was not well known because it was priced so high. Nobody really knew about it, and I don't think it sold very well. But I loved mine, and I loved telling people about it. And I think that's what the 1020 is going to be. I think the 1020 is going to be this generation's A600. Yeah.
Exactly. People aren't really going to know about it because let's be honest, Nokia doesn't really market that well in the US.
That's true.
Yeah, and one, because they don't have the relationships they used to have. They don't have the presence. And two, because they don't have the funds to even remotely compete with Samsung on a marketing level. So
it's going to be a word of mouth thing. It's going to be a thing where you're going to see that phone with the ring on it. I was watching a video, a completely unrelated video, non-mobile technology, yesterday, and some dude was in a crowd and taking a photo. Oh, it was a power plant being knocked down, and some dude was in the crowd taking photos with his phone, and it looked like the 1020 ring on the back. And I was like, I kept rewinding to that point in the video. I'm like, oh, is that it? And I think people are going to do that because it's a very distinctive look. No other phone looks like that when you're talking on it or taking pictures with it. And
listen, man,
I think the word of mouth is going to be powerful on this one. Yeah?
I was completely wrong about the Galaxy Note. I remember when the Galaxy Note came out, the first generation, we were in Barcelona. We were in Barcelona with Tony, and I would see all these people from these Asian companies, all of them having a Galaxy Note, and I'm like, how can they carry that gigantor phone?
Right.
I'm like, that goes from big to ridiculous. I will never use that phone, and now I use a Galaxy Note 2. I feel I was wrong about the Galaxy Note. It's sold like hotcakes. It's expensive, and people want it. So I think
that's a good point, Jaime. I'm sorry.
It's because
you're absolutely right. That Note is a perfect example of what I was talking about.
Yeah, it's a big phone.
What benefit do I have from a phone aside from the fact that it's big? So this time, I have the opportunity to not only get a phone that's not really small. It's not big, but it's not small. But I also get the added benefit of saving me cash on a camera. Because it's come to the point where point-and-shoot cameras are going to die next year. They're just going to die. I mean, right now, if you don't buy a mirrorless camera, you can't really tell the difference between the photos of my iPhone 5 and the one of my Sony CyberShot. You just can't tell the difference. So unless you can shell the $500 you'll need for a mirrorless camera, point-and-shoot cameras are going to die, especially with this phone. That's my perspective. I feel that if people were willing to buy the Note... If people were willing to buy the Note 2, they're going to be willing to buy this phone.
Well, the point and shoot.
Here's the problem. I just want to close out the Note discussion. The Galaxy Note was exclusive to AT&T, and it did okay. The Galaxy Note 2 did much better, and it wasn't exclusive to AT&T. Yep. So we might have to wait for the variants of the 1020 to land before we see a big move here.
No, I feel, again...
Didn't Stephen Elop say there was going to be another Lumia event, like, quote-unquote, soon?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, he did. He hinted at something at the very end of the thing.
You were listening in. I
was,
really,
yeah.
I didn't really hear it. This is, I think, Taylor, you have a point. This is not going to be the phone, but it's going to be the seed for Nokia in the future.
This will be the Note to the Note 2, and the 1020 successor will be the Note 2. Yeah. And the reason people pay for the Note 2, they pay the extra money, is because it offers something unique, and that's something that the 1020 does, and the successor will do, and that's PureView.
That's nice.
Well, but here's the thing.
Solid speculation. I like that.
Okay, here's the thing. What does the Note 2 give you that's actually better than anything else? I mean, the pen input on that phone is terrible.
What are you talking about?
It is.
What do you? No,
on what phone? Did you say on the Note 2?
How often do you use the S Pen?
Well, I use it pretty often.
Yeah, when I use the Note 2, I use the S Pen quite often.
Yeah, I don't.
All the time.
I don't. Well, I may be one of the lucky 85% of people that actually don't, and you're on the... I don't know.
I have a fine experience with the S Pen on the Note 2. I have a good experience with the S Pen on the Note 8.
No, fine. Okay, I'll take it back. The input on that phone is not that bad. It's just not perfect.
You know what's funny? I'm writing an S Pen editorial right after this, so it's good to have this conversation.
Yeah, but I do feel that Nokia is nailing a more ubiquitous feature with the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna see how it is. I've been thinking as we've been talking about this, about my forthcoming trip to the AT&T store and about what I'm gonna have to sell to justify this purchase. But it's the first time in a long time I've actually been amped enough to want to do that, and I think it's going to capture the the hearts of the tech squad. I think it's going to do what the HTC One did for HTC in this past quarter, where it's like, wow, every tech geek in the world loves this thing. It must be worth looking at, say consumers.
Well, it still didn't save HTC because they're still losing money.
Well, but, and speaking of that, actually, Nokia's numbers came out this morning. Do we have a story up on this yet?
I don't know. I didn't
checking
see that.
Our front page. Yeah, Nokia's financials came out. And yes, commenters, as I'm waiting for this page to load, yes, we know it's Nokia in some parts of the world. Not here in America.
Nokia. Okay, Stephen Elop even says Nokia now.
Oh,
so
he's Canadian, yeah. WhatsApp, Samsung teases Okta. No, we don't have this story up. Why don't we have this story up? No, maybe it's not that great. Nokia financials. Results and reports from Nokia financials. Nokia. I'm glad I'm the only one looking this up.
Here, I'll join you.
Thanks. Thanks, bro. Jaime has an excuse. He's got no power.
His other hand is fanning him or blowing himself.
Forbes has an interesting headline on this. Forbes has a good headline on this story that is Nokia Q2 2013 figures from Nokia and BlackBerry reveal the third ecosystem winner. And of course we know who that is. It is Windows Phone for the moment. But it looks like Windows Phone powered Lumia handsets are at 7.4 million.
Yeah, they're selling more Lumias now than BlackBerry is selling all their BlackBerry lineup, including the 7 devices.
Right. So yeah, if you omit the BlackBerry 7 devices, I think BlackBerry 10 only did like 2-point-something million in the last quarter. So this is BlackBerry's reported Q2 number was 6.8 million, and then if you take out the other ones, it's just 2.7 million for the BB10 stuff. But just talking about Windows Phone. I don't know how the numbers compare quarter over quarter or year over year. It looks like mobile phone sales are down for Nokia. 55 million versus 53 million. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, net sales were 233 million. I guess that's pounds, up 8% sequentially for quarter two. I'm trying to sift through this really quickly.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
So the story will be up probably by the time the podcast lands, I hope, and you'll be able to check out the numbers there. We are not gonna get too deep into Nokia's financials. I just wanted to touch on it real quick and see. Hey, the news is that they're still selling Lumia phones, and that's cool. And the Lumia 625 is going to join the ranks there. This is rumored to be the biggest Nokia Windows phone in history, or the biggest Windows phone in history.
Skip. It's a 4.7-inch display. I mean, that's the size of the Titan 2 and the Titan. Yeah. Let's just skip. There's no point there. It's an emerging market phone. I wish they would come out. I wish they would have kept the Asha and probably brought like a watered-down version of Windows Phone to run on the Asha and left that as the low-end phones, and then kept the Lumia as the high-end smartphones, because having high-end Lumias and low-end Lumias is just confusing. I hate that with the Galaxy lineup.
Yeah, I also agree. I think I would have preferred that the Lumia brand be reserved for higher-end devices, but of course that's not the case at all. Yeah, the 625 looks just interesting from the perspective of having the biggest screen of a Lumia device at 4.7 inches, but I don't really care about that because I reviewed the Samsung TVS with its 4.8-inch display, and I don't know.
Exactly.
4.8 inches, fine. I mean, whatever. Windows Phone doesn't need to be big, but. Yeah, emerging markets, big deal. As Jaime says, let's go ahead and move past that. That's not big news.
Sorry, I was yawning. I had to mute myself.
The final bit of news in the Windows Phone section is that Halo Spartan Assault is going to arrive for the Windows Phone Halo game. Now, let me tell you guys, I'm not a gamer. I like playing games on occasion, but one of the only games I've played extensively, basically, is Halo. So this is part of the reason it's in the lineup, but also seeing Microsoft launch a version of this immensely popular game on Windows Phone is like this balm for years of frustration. I remember the first time I heard about Windows Phone in 2010, Windows Phone 7, I was like, yes! Well, we know it's going to be an awesome gaming platform because look at what Microsoft's doing with Xbox. And for years, they have absolutely failed to leverage that. I mean, yeah, you can get your little Xbox. What do you call that? What do you call your character, your gaming? character.
Oh, I don't know.
Your avatar, or whatever the hell it is.
Can I
get
water
that
down
on there and all that kind of crap? But you've not been able to get awesome titles on Windows Phone.
Can I water down your espresso?
Not yet.
I'm
still excited. Let me be happy about this for one more second. And while I am, I will note that I think Adam Lane last night went to the launch party for this, and it's on the video.
We have a video up. We have a video up already.
Yeah, good. But so now, what are you gonna do? Come and pee in my cereal. What's up?
Let me turn your espresso into an Americano right
Jaime Raccoon in the garbage can Rivera. Go ahead.
Why is this top? Okay, so Halo is a first-person shooter, right?
Yes.
It's 3D. It's a 3D graphics game that was invented in the times of me playing in a 486 computer with Wolfenstein 3D. Anybody remember that?
Oh yeah.
Everybody. Okay, so
id Software.
I'm trying to understand why is it that I can play even Wolfenstein on in first-person shooter games. Why is the Halo version of Windows Phone a top camera down game that reminds me of the games that I used to play before Wolfenstein?
Wait, like Grand Theft Auto 2.
Wait, like, is it?
Nobody played that?
I'm watching the trailer right now, and the trailer has a lot of interesting scenery and blah. Okay, so here's gameplay, and yeah, it is top-down, isn't it? Well, I imagine they did this to cater to the phone interface, because first-person shooters are tough to do on a phone. Like I've played Doom on the phone, I've played Wolfenstein on a phone, and it sucks because you have to overlay the controls right on the action.
Have you ever played Nova 3 on a phone, or play, which is the other one, Modern Combat?
No.
They're awesome, man. What is the excuse here? I mean, why is it that we have Modern Combat already and we can't get Halo to look like the... Okay, fine, it's not going to be just as exact as it is on the computer, but then we've got Death Space, which is not exactly the same thing that we see on the game console, and it's a first-person shooter.
I gotta say, that's true. I just watched that whole trailer, and I don't think I will enjoy learning how to do that top-down stuff.
I'll say that, what was it, like Gun Bros or whatever? That was fun to play. It was top down, so.
Gun Bros?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? Forget it. I'm just playing Dope Wars from now on. That's all I'm doing.
Dude, I loved that game back in the day.
I'm sorry. I'm really disappointed at Halo. I was expecting like this bombshell, amazing gaming experience coming from the masters of Halo, the owners of Halo, Microsoft, and as it turns out,
you haven't played it yet. It's just not a format you like. We don't know how good it is. What? Yeah. What?
I love video games. I hate Halo.
That's all right, man. That's fine.
I hate Halo. All my friends are like, "You're an idiot." I've played it, and I've played it, and I hate it.
That's okay.
Like it.
I will tell you, Assassin's Creed, I respect, but I don't like playing just because I don't like being in the first one. I don't like wandering around, a desert village. It's not what I'm into.
You should play the latest one.
I want to put is that the pirate ship one?
No, well, that's coming. I'm talking about the Civil War.
I don't care about that either. I want ships.
That was fun.
I want ships. Anyway, hey, let's talk about Android. Are we done with Windows Phone? Can we move on?
Yeah. Let's go.
Guess what got announced this morning? We know this because of my sweet lead-in. HTC, I love this because HTC hinted at this last night on their Twitter accounts, like, we have a little announcement tomorrow, and it's, little was in quotes. And then Dinessa, who hangs out with us in our live broadcast a lot, was like, I wonder what it is, or something like that. And HTC was like, care to take a guess? And then she was like, I think she guessed like the phablet or something. Like she guessed something that wasn't little at all. And I was like, no, Dinessa, come on. It's the Desire 200. And then I was completely wrong. It's the One Mini. So everybody was wrong last night.
How could you not guess the One Mini?
I don't know. I just don't think about the One Mini a lot. You know why? Because next to the One, it looks the same size to me. I know it's not, but
I'm disappointed.
It's not a One. It is not a One.
I am disappointed. I mean, how can it be that this phone looks exactly like a One? It's the size is almost so similar. So I'm going to quote the hands-on video that I saw last night from The Verge. They did a good job, and it's just funny how Vlad comes up to the guy. This is the HTC sales, I don't know what representative in London, and he's like, "This is the HTC One experience in a smaller package with no compromise." And so he's like, "Okay, so we don't have an eye." And the sales guy, it's not even Vlad, comes up and he's like, okay, it doesn't have an IR blaster. The camera doesn't have optical limit stabilization like the one. This is only 16 gigabytes. It does not have an NFC antenna. But this is the HTC One experience with
no compromise.
Snapdragon 400.
Yeah, you can, so
so you could just hear Vlad. You could just hear Vlad being like, yeah, except for everything you just said right now, no compromise. Right?
I think what they mean by no compromise is like it's aluminum. It's still aluminum, so no compromise.
I think I could just imagine Vlad's face with his eyes popped out and be like, right.
So just so you know, listeners, the specs on this are 4.3 and 720p display, which is pretty cool. PPI is 341. Cool. Yeah. It's 122 grams, which is super light. It is powered by a Snapdragon 400 dual core, obviously clocked at 1.4 gigahertz with a gig of RAM, and like Taylor said, 16 gigs. The battery is 1800 milliamp hours. Android 4.2.2, silver and black. Wow. Listen, I still think that's an okay spec load. I think it's hilarious that they're billing this as no compromise. That's very funny. But
this is as much a mini HTC One as the Galaxy S4 Mini is a Galaxy S4.
Yes, Jinx, you owe me a pizza.
Okay,
yeah, I said it first.
One question, Pizza Man.
Yeah.
So, the only reason why you're able to put up with that 4-megapixel camera on the HTC One is because you've got optical limit stabilization, and therefore you have great low-light photography.
Pretty much.
So how are you going to put up with a 4-megapixel camera without that?
Do you think that it's going to hurt the brand, actually?
I do.
Yeah.
No, I think this phone will be swept under the rug faster than they can launch it.
You know, here's the thing. If this thing were notably smaller than the existing
4 inches.
one, right? Like that
4
would
inches.
then it would all make sense to me. But if you look at the videos, and no, we don't have one, so we'll get it soon. But when you look at the videos that other sites have done, these phones look almost identical.
They look almost identical. I mean, you can't tell the difference. I mean, they put the HTC One right beside it, and I was like, which is which? Yeah. I'm serious.
Yeah.
For a second there, I was like, which is which?
How in God's name? I mean, what is the design process that leads to this? It's like, okay, well, we have whatever. What did we say the screen size was? 4.3. We have a lot of 4.3-inch panels that we have access to, or we have this
we did not sell the HTC first, so we need to get rid of those panels, guys. Think of something. Something. What can we do?
That's pretty much what happened.
That's fascinating, yeah.
But what HTC needs to do, what would really just change the game for them, is to make a smaller, high-end device.
Make something like the size of the Desire 2, 100.
Make something the size of the iPhone.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Make a 720p phone, 4 inches, put a Snapdragon 600 in it, 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigabytes and up to 64. A decent-sized battery. I'm just saying, make an HTC One the size of the iPhone. You can do that. It's possible.
Yeah.
The only problem is that, yes, you have less space inside the phone, but the components aren't that much different.
Well, I was going to advocate making one with a 4.3-inch screen and just slimming down the bezels to a ridiculous degree. And I don't mean the side ones, I mean the top ones. But then, of course, you lose boom sound, and they're not going to do that, and I don't think they should.
They need to make
They're constrained by boom sound, which is great. It's a good thing to be constrained by because it's awesome. It's one of my favorite features.
It is, man. Yeah. But this phone is like, oh God, as the guy kept talking, I'm like, okay, why didn't you just snap one of the old 8-megapixel cameras from like the HTC One X or something on that phone, and it would probably not be as bad as it's going to turn out to be. I mean, what's the point about having this phone that looks like another if it's not going to perform at all like the other?
Yeah. This may be a case, as we're talking about this now, and I'm realizing we're just crapping all over this thing. This may be the case of getting one in the hand and realizing how different it is. Because the iPhone 5, to me, when I saw it pictured, was just an iPhone 4, and I was like, I'm very disappointed. And then I saw one, and I was like, oh, wow, this is actually way different. When I actually held it. So we're going to have to wait to hold it. For anyone who says that we're in HTC's pocket, for anyone who says that, we are just shills for HTC, I would like to point out, as I already have, that we have not had hands-on time with this device yet. So, boom, eat it.
I want to add one thing. I reviewed the HTC First, and it had pretty much identical specs to this, except for it had a 5-megapixel camera instead of 4. And I actually really liked the phone. I mean, it was too small for my taste, but it was actually a decent phone. And if you don't do a lot of gaming, that phone is all you'll ever need, really. Yeah. But in the same respect, don't call it a 1 unless it's a 1, basically. That's my only beef with this phone. It's not a 1.
It's following right in the footsteps of the S4 Mini, like you say. You know?
Yep.
Yeah. We will have to wait and see. We'll have to see what happens when we get our hands on it. Let's talk about the LG Optimus strike-through G2. LG's finally dropped the Optimus brand name.
The LG GG2. LG GG2.
So this is my problem, right? When your brand name, when your master brand is 2 letters, should you make your model numbers letters and numbers as well? It's just confusing to me. I actually liked the Optimus brand name. I thought it stood out. Do you think that what do you think that was the source of this? Have they commented on that?
They were actually sued by, was it Hasbro?
Yeah, now I know
whoever owns the rights to Transformers.
Right, but
Hasbro.
And Asus was sued by them too, right? For the Transformer Prime or the Transformer. They tried to do something with it. So but LG was sued as well, really?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I read that somewhere.
LG Optimus lawsuit. Help me, Google. Now, these are all product things. Anyway, we can probably find that link. If anybody finds it, let me know. Anyway, regardless of the reason for it, it's now just the LG G2 that I will be going to New York City to check out, presumably, if that's indeed what they're announcing on the 7th, which I think it is.
Well, maybe they didn't. I mean, I felt like they did, but maybe they decided that... I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, they need something more than just LG G2. Because it sounds ridiculous.
It does. LG also announced, I didn't think about this, this is from Anton's news post, LG announced that its phablets will be renamed to simply View, as the company appears to drop the Optimus moniker from the West. Yeah, let's not talk about the View. Yeah, so let's move on. The Nexus 7, sorry, I dropped the wrong link in there for you guys, but the Nexus 7 has been leaked by someone. I think this was brought to us by Android Central. Posted this, and we reposted their video, which is underscored entirely by the Android Central theme. So you can watch a Mr. Blurry Cam video of the supposed new Nexus 7 with some sweet techno dance beat behind it. That's fun. I like that.
Yeah.
I always like when there's an excuse to use the full Pocketnow theme in a commercial, like we did for the forums thing, because I love our theme so hard. So I get it.
I'm not going to say anything. The top comment on that video is all... I was cracking up yesterday. It had like 100 likes. That top comment, that go read that on that video.
I want to. Is it on our site or is it on Android Central?
No, on Android Central.
Okay, all right, I will. We'll see.
What potato did you film this with?
All right. So anyway, the video aside, this looks to be maybe the new Nexus 7. We have a Google event that's going to land that's scheduled for next week that I'm sure we'll be reporting on. That's going to be on the what day? July 24th. So next Wednesday. Maybe these things are related. We will have to see. I'm not going to talk about the Nexus 7 right now because
I don't even know how to do a segue.
You don't know how to do a segue?
Does this work? I mean, I could, but
you're already doing it. You're already doing it. You're doing it right now. It's great. You just got to say it. Say the next thing we're talking about. It's fun. Let's live on the air. Taylor Martin does his first segue. Live. Well, shut up, Taylor. Just do the segue.
Cat B15.
Thank you. Jaime. See what Jaime can do. Jaime just says it. See?
Yeah,
what
he just says it. I'm trying to compete with you on this, and I can't just bam, Cat B15. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah, the Cat B15. So there's a fun story about this.
I will say this. How about this? I grew up around caterpillars, bulldozers, and everything.
Exactly
so
right.
my dad would actually really like this thing.
Exactly why I wanted you to do the segue. But, maybe he
does.
That's
why you didn't know that. Maybe you didn't know I grew up around bulldozers.
I have a pair of
Taylor, you grew up
shoes.
in Super Carolina. I knew you grew up around bulldozers.
I have a pair of Caterpillar shoes. Is that?
I was going to say, I wish I had cat boots because I would have worn them when I was throwing this thing in the river yesterday.
I do.
Those are Brogans.
The Cat B15 is a super rugged Android phone we checked out in Barcelona, and there were divided directives from the top. I'm going to share some Pocketnow insider info with you guys and with everyone. There was a division of opinion above me as to whether or not we should secure this device. And we did, because I argued for it. But I think it's going to be a real dog, because I don't think a lot of people care about it. But oddly enough, commenters were asking for this. When I was doing the Galaxy S4 Active stuff, like every, 50th comment or something, I was like, what about the Cat B15? I'm like, you know about the Cat B15? Who knows about this thing? So we secured it, and we've unboxed it, and we've put it up against every single waterproof phone we have in the office, in the Boston office.
That was a good video. That was a good video.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it,
I didn't get to watch it because the internet here is slow. It would have taken like 3 hours to buffer.
It's cool, man. I believe you. That's fine. But it's a fun video. I throw it in the river a couple times. It's great. But mainly, the reason I bring it up, the reason it's in the rundown, and we'll move on after this, is if you have a question about it, a topic for it, we can't do a Pocketnow You review episode based on it because it just won't, like, nobody will come. But please leave a comment on either the YouTube feed, on the comments at pocketnow.com, or in the forums at forums.pocketnow.com. Because if there's something else I can do with this phone before sending it back to our friends at Clove, I would really, really like to do that, because it's a fun, beastly phone to mess with. And with that said, do you guys want to touch on tablets real quick? Because Taylor and I have a little. We're tablet buddies now, aren't we? Friends.
I've got way too many tablets right now.
Yeah, you have my old Xperia Z, or not mine, but Pocketnow's old Xperia Z, it's Tablet Z.
I do.
And you also, though, more interestingly, have a Android tablet.
Well, I have the Nexus 10.
Yeah, but you also have an Android tablet with a home button on the wrong side of the display.
Yes, I do.
Taylor has the Galaxy Tab 10, the Galaxy Tab 3 10.0.
Which won't sell.
10.1.
Yeah.
This is the worst name for a tablet ever.
Yeah.
When recording the audio,
it's matched only by the Galaxy Tab 3 8.0. Yeah.
Galaxy Tab 3 10.1. Galaxy. Oh, God.
Can you imagine? What is going on?
I was trying to. Every time I try to record that. Every time I try to record Galaxy Tab 3 10.1, I end up saying Galaxy Tab 10.13 or Galaxy Tab 3.1.
You should check out my comparison to see the outtake when I try to say Galaxy Tab 3 8.0 versus Galaxy Note 8.0. Like, it's freaking impossible.
And why didn't they just say Galaxy Note 8? Why do we have to be 0.0, 0.1?
I agree.
Because they have an 8.9 and a 7.7.
Is there going to be a 10.1 or a 10.2 or an 8.1?
You know why they do it? They do it so that commenters can argue about whether dot or point is more appropriate in the comments. That's why they do it. It's a service that Samsung renders.
Serious burn, man.
I enjoyed filming my comparison, though, of the Tab 3 versus the Note 8, because I did it in this kind of industrial park, and I got this really cool, a bunch of really cool footage and like nice color of like oxidized rust running down a asphalt driveway and moss coming up, and I got some actually really nice shots. But the whole time I'm filming these beautiful passes of these devices on concrete, like just outside the frame, and I mean literally just outside the frame, there was a dead rat. And it smelled atrocious, and I didn't discover it until the end of the day, and I was like, oh, this is gross. No wonder the flies have been eating me alive. So you're welcome, everyone, for undergoing that. But I've been having a ball with location shooting recently. Cambridge has some really fun places to put phones outside, yeah. But
yeah, I need to find some around in my new area. But let's agree to call them Galaxy Tab 3 8.0. and Galaxy Tab 3 10.1.
Completely.
Can we do that from now on?
And let's agree to segue to the next topic, because these two tablets are not going to sell.
Sounds good. Well, that's the thing. We should segue to the next topic, because this is something that is compelling to me. But I do want to make the parting point that, as I say in that comparison, I just don't see a reason why. Listen, the last thing I want to do is come across as somebody who doesn't think money should be an object, because I understand it's a big deal for a lot of people, for me included. But if the difference in price between the Galaxy Note 8.0 and the Galaxy Tab 3 8.0 is $80, I mean, you're already spending at least $300, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You've got to assume that a large portion of buyers who have that money, are going to be able to spend the extra $80 for what appears to me to be a much better product in the Galaxy Note 8.
Yeah, I haven't done the comparison yet. I'm going to finish it today. But I said the exact same thing at the end of the script. We can't figure out why the Tab 3 10.1 exists when you have the Tab 2 10.1 and the Galaxy Note 10.1. Because the Galaxy Note is... or the Samsung or the Nexus 10
Galaxy
even.
Nexus,
but
yeah,
the Note
Nexus
10.1, Note 10.1 has much better specifications, and it's about $100 more at retail value. But the Tab 3 10.1 has the exact same specifications as the Tab 2 10.1, save for the Intel Atom processor.
And even worse is the fact that none of them are going to sell anyways, because nobody likes Samsung tablets.
Well, the Notes.
Well, Samsung tablets are the most
sell.
popular Android tablets.
The
Notes.
So one of them sells 200,000 units, and Samsung sells 300,000. Let's move on.
Jaime's done talking about Android tablet. That's okay.
Listen,
we're gonna have this. We're gonna have more of this to talk about next week anyway, because we're gonna have a Tab 10 review and we're gonna have a Tab 3.8 review. So it's just the funniest thing. I mean, nobody. I can't understand why Samsung has not figured it out. All my friends come up to me and they're like, "Why would I want to buy a Galaxy Tab if I can buy an iPad?" That's whenever people come up to me with that argument, I'm like, "Damn, Samsung, you're really having a hard time here, aren't you?" You know what's funny, Jaime? Like, if Taylor is the Segway crusher, Jaime is the king of saying, "Let's skip it," and then talking about it for another 5 minutes.
Yes.
All right, listen here, jerks. I want to talk about my new favorite Android phone. Can we do that, please? Can we?
All right.
No.
Guys, here's the thing. Samsung has released folding Android phones before. They have released clamshell Android phones for China, and they've been, beset with model numbers like SCHV 4200X, and it's like, okay, we're never going to see this thing. This is the first folding Android phone I've seen with a Galaxy brand name. It's the Samsung Galaxy Folder, which was tipped to...
I can't.
What? What, is that a lame name?
Galaxy Folder.
It's a Galaxy Folder. Oh
they couldn't come up with something a little better than calling the phone Folder.
You know what's funny? Like, I agree with you. Like, I agree it's kind of a lame brand name, but I'm instantly defensive on behalf of this phone because I like it so much. So I'm like, shut up, Taylor.
Folder.
Listen, I like it. Shut up. I really want one of these. I don't think Samsung America will... I don't know. I don't think we'll ever see this come to the States, but if it does, I really, really want it. If Anton can get a hold of this through one of Samsung's European outlets, I would pay him for the shipping. That's how much I want this. Guys, listeners, it's not impressive. It's just a clamshell phone. It's got a numeric keypad, and it's got what? Does it look like 2 3-point-something inch displays? We don't know what the size of the displays are.
It's really small. I want a flip phone. I've always wanted. You remember those days when Motorola... You remember that MPX 200?
200 and 220, yeah.
Yeah, but
totally.
Okay, but you remember that there was a 300 that was rumored. That was actually a dual flip phone. It had 2 hinges. And it never came to the market.
It never made it. Yeah.
It would flip to the right, and it would be a full keyboard, but then you can flip it up, and it would be like a numeric keypad.
Yep.
And I waited for that phone so long, and Motorola never announced it.
So
it was. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's like it's like a smartphone version of the Alias, the Samsung Alias on Horizon.
Oh, with the e-ink keys? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar to that dual hinge thing.
Yeah, so I do want a flip phone. I would rather have a Kyocera Torque with 2 screens than have an Echo. Then have a Echo. Then have a numeric keypad. I love the concept. I love the idea. I would have just loved 2 displays on a flip design. And Asus has done it with the tablet recently. I do want it. For me, clamshell phones are the best call quality products out there because the microphone is directly below your mouth.
And it contours to your face, and you
contours to your face.
Hang up in a satisfying way by snapping it shut. I just love opening it. I love pulling it out of my pocket and flipping it open.
Listen, for me, the days of the Motorola StarTAC, man, I would just pull it off. Pull it off the case and flip it open with 1 finger. We
have a great thread about clamshell phones and extendable antennas going on in the forums right now. Actually, there's a whole subforum for nostalgia, and somebody posted a StarTAC picture yesterday, I think, and it was great. And then Taylor just sent us something. What did you send us? A flip concept phone render.
Yeah, I wrote about that thing when I first started at Phone Dog, and it's stuck with me ever since. Like, this is something I wish existed.
We're gonna drop. We'll go ahead and drop this photo in the post so that you listeners can see what it is.
Yeah, I'm going to find a better picture because there are better pictures.
I guess my biggest concern with this concept, Michael, is that I guess the QWERTY keyboard is dead, isn't it?
Wait a minute. You mean the physical QWERTY keyboard?
Yeah, the physical QWERTY keyboard is dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
If that's dead, then the numeric keypad was dead even before that. So I do feel that there's a lot of waste of space. I feel that the concept would be awesome with a dual screen phone. And if they could figure out a way to actually have those two snap together in a way that this would turn into like a really long phone, that would be awesome.
It would. The form factor is something that I really would like more manufacturers to play with, but I don't want to spoil a forthcoming editorial from Adam Dowd, so I won't. So, I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed that we see the Galaxy Folder in some kind of wide release, that we can get our hands on it, and that I can shoot a video of me spending a day with a flip Android phone again. Because
I guess my biggest problem is it's going to be an entry level phone, and that's going to be sad.
Yeah, because it's WVGA and it's not too impressive. Taylor,
yeah, it's.
Taylor?
I was going to say that I wish Samsung had come up with another brand instead of Galaxy for this, and maybe called it like Manila or something.
No, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
You jerk.
Seriously.
I dropped another link in the chat.
Yeah,
so you can see a better picture.
I've already put the crappier photo.
If you guys remember the code name for HTC, which was it, TouchFlow in the past before it became Sense, the code name was Manila.
Yeah, but Manila Folder is not a phone that I'm ever going to carry.
Well, I would never carry a Galaxy Folder, so.
Well, there you go. This is why you and I just can never be friends in real life. It's a shame.
Look at my Galaxy Folder. Oh wow! Look at this.
Shall we talk very briefly, because we don't have much time left? Taylor Martin wrote a great piece about the changing status of upgrades on American carriers. And it was called "Are T-Mobile's Jump and AT&T's Next Worth the Extra Cash?" And of course, now we can add Verizon's, Edge or something to that?
Yeah, VZ Edge.
Yeah. So the real question I have, Taylor, is already stated by your headline. Are they? These are the new early upgrade programs for those carriers, by the way, if you're not familiar with them, that allow you to upgrade your phone more than once every 2 years in exchange for some green every month. So what's the story, Taylor?
Well, first, I would like to be referred to as Taylor Mathematician Martin for the next 10 minutes. No, I spent so much time crunching numbers.
All you have is 2.5 minutes on this segment, so move on.
Nice.
I did. I spent so much time. Tony was like, you just moved. You've got to get everything in order, so just don't spend a lot of time on this today. And I started crunching
you just
numbers.
Lost 30 seconds. Go ahead.
It's like impossible not to spend time on this.
Yeah, I started crunching numbers, and it took longer and longer, and I looked at the word count, and I'm like 1,500 words. I'm like, okay, I've got to cut some words out of this and really just figure out what I'm talking about. And after I started crunching numbers, like I originally thought, both of these are terrible. I would never, ever, ever even consider doing one of these or using one of these programs. And now that I'd crunched numbers and looked through them and figured everything out, I actually would. AT&T Next, absolutely not. I would not recommend it to anyone.
Why is that?
And the reason behind it is you're still contracted, right? So T-Mobile, this concept only really works if you're not on a contract, because with AT&T, every phone they sell is subsidized. Even if you buy a phone with no contract, you're still paying for the subsidized price of the phone in your monthly bill. So all of their services, calling, your minutes, text messages, and data are all marked up for the loss to cover the loss that they have in subsidized phones. So they sell you a phone for $200. We were talking about this earlier. You get a phone, sign a 2-year agreement for $200, and AT&T eats $400, $500 each time somebody buys a phone.
Right.
And they make that up over the next 2 years. So
the funniest thing is, for example, if you want an early upgrade on an iPhone, I think the penalty is $200.
Yeah. So once you start crunching these numbers, you figure out that the price you're paying for hardware in your monthly bill could be anywhere from maybe $10 to $30. Nobody really knows how much it is. Yeah, per month you're paying for this phone, even if you don't use AT&T Next, so say you buy a Galaxy S4, you're paying anywhere from $10 to maybe $30 per month for the hardware. And if you look at by the end of your 24-month contract, you've paid them way more than what the phone is actually worth. But if you look at AT&T Next, the Galaxy S4 is $32 per month to finance it. So no down payment, no interest, nothing. It's $32 a month. And that sounds good because after a year, when you're eligible for another upgrade, you've only paid, is it $340 some dollars? I've got it in here somewhere.
Anyway, so you're talking about T-Mobile's Jump then?
No, you're talking about AT&T.
No, I'm talking about AT&T Next. Yeah. I'll get to Jump in a minute.
So yeah, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what the number is. You're paying hundreds of dollars. Okay.
Yeah, $384 over the course of 12 months for the Galaxy S4. But you're also not including how much you're paying in your bill. And that's only 12 months, and you're eligible for another upgrade, and you can change phones. But say you don't. You can keep paying those installments for 8 more months, and you can call the phone yours. After you do that, you've actually paid almost $900 for the Galaxy S4.
Wow. Which doesn't make any damn sense at all.
It doesn't make any sense because you're actually paying... Yeah, you're paying more. Every way you look at it, you're getting double charged for that phone.
Except you're doing it over... Yeah, but the thinking goes that people are not going to plan their budget 2 years in advance because really, nobody outside of very, very smart people do that.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, well, if I can avoid paying as much at the store, if I can just push that cost further into the future, that's fine. If I can spread it out, then that's valuable. But, of course, they're getting screwed. Yeah.
Yep. And with T-Mobile Next, it's a lot more, or T-Mobile Jump. Whew.
Yeah.
With T-Mobile Jump, it's a totally different story because you're not contracted. T-Mobile doesn't do contracts anymore. And what happens is the price of the phone is not included in the price of your service. So the most you're going to pay T-Mobile for one line is $70 a month because that's unlimited everything. So $70 a month. So that includes no price for hardware. So you buy your phone either outright or you get it on an installment plan. And those cover the exact...
a month.
Yeah. You put a down payment of maybe $150 down, and you pay $20 a month, and it ends when you pay the phone off. You don't keep paying and keep paying. It ends when the phone is paid off and it's yours. So that's how T-Mobile works. The only thing they've done with T-Mobile Jump is add a $10 per month fee. So you pay $10 a month, and it covers insurance, and it allows you to upgrade every 6 months.
And that's awesome.
Yes, you can upgrade twice per year, and you pay an upfront cost and $20 per month for the phone. So you're paying actually a total of $30 per month more. So you'd be paying around $100 per month for your service, the device, and the ability to upgrade early.
Which is pretty rad.
It amounts to $120 per year to upgrade twice per year.
Which is a great deal, yeah.
It's actually a very good deal. You're not paying more for anything.
Plus, you're getting insurance bundled in with that as well.
Exactly. So
they're pretty much just financing the phone, but it's really at a very low rate. It's like if they're not really making money for the phone.
They're not. They're making their normal profit that they would make if they sold a phone at retail value.
At retail, yeah.
Yeah, they're making the same amount of money. So say they buy an iPhone from Apple there's no margin on an iPhone. Say they buy a Galaxy S4 from Samsung. Each unit is approximately say $550, and they sell them for $650 or $630.
Yeah.
So they're making they're making about $100 on a phone. So they're not making much. They're making all their money in services.
But that's awesome. I mean, that's really the way the business should be.
So the same concept from AT&T completely fails because they double charge you for everything, basically.
Right. But people are not going to be. I mean, I'm glad that you wrote this piece, and I'm glad other people are writing similar pieces because maybe AT&T will tweak that, and maybe VZ Edge won't be as horrible a deal because people need to be informed about it. But what?
I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
I doubt it.
I do too. I imagine VZ Edge will be the exact same thing as Next.
Yeah, I agree. My principal takeaway from all this is that, one, Taylor, I'm glad you did this piece because I never would have gotten through it. I cannot handle that much numerical action. And two, I'm sad once again that T-Mobile and I are not a good fit for each other, because that sounds great. I think I would really enjoy Jump, and unfortunately,
Yeah, I think I'm
T-Mobile
going to
just
sign up
doesn't-
for it.
Yeah, well, I wish I could, but AT&T's device selection and coverage just served me better in my market, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
but
I guess that's the unfortunate part of T-Mobile. Their service is like...
well, it depends on where you live, though. I mean, it like with all
Yeah, it's
carriers,
okay here in Charlotte.
Yeah, it depends on where you are. That's great. I thank you, Taylor, for informing me of yet something else I cannot take advantage of. I'm going to be buying a phone for $650 next week. Yay!
Yeah, me too, probably, maybe.
Yeah.
But I will say, I want to add one thing to that, and that is that another part of this that I've included in that editorial is that you can sell your phones privately for... you can actually turn a profit if you do it
right on eBay or something like that. Yeah.
But you can also do it in a way that you come out even, so you're not paying the $120 for Jump. So you buy every phone outright, and you sell it, and then you turn that money around and just keep buying phones perpetually. And eventually you're going to start losing money, but there are other ways to do it.
We generally wrap up the show on listener mail, guys, but we're wrapping up a pretty busy week here, so I think we're just going to call it early today, because Jaime's got to go, and Taylor, you've got to go, and I've got to go. I think I got a sandwich calling my name, and I got to figure out how exactly I'm going to get my hands on a Lumia 1020 before anybody else.
How does that sandwich say? It's like Iron Man. Iron Man. Come on.
Man. Oh, God, I wish I could. Yes, on that note, listeners, I have a story that I'm going to be able to tell you in 2014, so, get ready for that. Yeah. Anyway.
On the edge of my seat for a year.
Oh, God. Well, anyway, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me today on the Weekly. I do appreciate it. And Jaime, you're a trooper, man, for sweating through a no-power day on the podcast.
Seriously.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. And Taylor, whatever.
I'm enjoying my executive office, so get off it.
I notice you don't have a standing desk anymore. We'll talk about that. Maybe we can lead into the next show with you talking about a sitting desk and things of that nature. Because
my back already hurts.
Yeah, mine does too. I'm going to go stand up and walk around a little bit. But before I do that, I should wrap up this episode of The Weekly. Find us on Twitter. Taylor is at CasperTech, Jaime is at Jaime_Rivera, and as always, you can find me at Captain Two Phones. You can also follow Pocketnow officially at Pocketnow on Twitter, as Pocketnow on Facebook and Google+. You can leave us a review on iTunes or Xbox Music if you're a nice person, and if you have a topic, question, or suggestion for the podcast, or you just want to say hello, we'll get your listener mail next week at podcast@pocketnow.com. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Find me on Google Plus.
Let's talk about my new.
But Jaime, at this point, he only wants to move on because his arm is tired.
Oh yeah, yeah, true.
And I'm trying. I'm not as good at myself with the left.
God. I have to take that out. Thanks a lot. Shit bags.